Heathenry meet. I've been absent for quite a while. I think my last proper vlog was probably maybe January, when I had recently moved to Bath. So a lot has changed in my life. I don't want to do too much personal history because that changes all of the time. But I did want to give a spiritual update because that is what this channel is all about, really. I find myself in this field in Bath. Ironically, I find this place as I prepare to leave once again. I live a semi-nomadic life, it seems, these days. Hopefully that won't go on for too long. And I am planning to leave, so I thought I'd do a bit of exploring on my last days off. And I found this wonderful place with a beautiful, if you can see over there, throne dedicated to the Saxon history around here. I have found, since moving to Bath, which is located in Wessex, from a Celtic land in Wales, Celtic Brythonic land in Wales, moving now into a place of Saxon heritage as well as Roman, because there's a lot of history in Bath. Since moving to this Wessex Saxon land, it's really brought me into touch with my heritage. You know, I'm from Essex, so the place that I grew up is steeped in Anglo-Saxon history and Viking history, as well as a lot of other histories that happened in England. Essex is really, being close to London, a lot went on there, and so there's not a lot that actually survives physically because people have always built over there. I've always felt the call to the Anglo-Saxon pantheon, to the Norse in a lesser extent, and I think that's because I wasn't explicitly drawn to a Scandinavian culture. It was specifically Anglo-Saxon. There was something about that Englishness that really called to me and where I came from. And I've mentioned that several times on this channel throughout this whole channel's journey, is that the Anglo-Saxons gods and their stories keep coming up for me, but never enough for me to really pay attention and devote my path to it. So, as you all know, the Egyptians have demanded my attention. The ancient Egyptian gods and their stories really called to me a lot. And so I have dedicated my life, and will continue to dedicate my life, to the pursuit of Egyptology. The Egyptian gods will always hold a sacred place within my heart, and within my soul as well. I remember Egypt on a soul level, and so that's always going to remain important for me. However, living in Britain, when I go out on the landscape, there's something that I can't quite connect to with the Egyptian gods, which makes sense. Egypt is nothing landscape-wise like Britain. So that's never really worked for me, and I've always found myself coming into conflict with it. Some people can work perfectly fine and devote themselves in the UK to a primarily Egyptian path, but it hasn't quite worked for me. Now, I still have all of my Egyptian statuary, I still worship the Egyptian gods, you know, things are still the same as they ever were for me, but that's a part of my spirituality and not the whole picture. I've also been very drawn to the Greco-Roman deities, specifically the goddesses, not really any of the gods. My primary goddess is Aphrodite, and that's still the case. I am drawn to others, such as Athena and Hera. Different Greek goddesses do come through for me, primarily Aphrodite. And that still hasn't changed either, so that's another pocket of my spirituality. However, you will have noticed that if you follow any of my other social media platforms, you will have noticed a lot of heathenry coming out recently. And I really think that's because I have moved. I've shifted energetically into a different place, and just at this time in my life, it's just time. So last year I attended, towards the end of the year, a couple of workshops, kind of ceremonies, journeys, learnings to do with the Norse gods and goddesses and that journey, that path. So that awakened that, and that opened up a dialogue and an invitation to the gods to get in touch with me. And I wasn't really sure at the time, and at the time I felt like a bit of a foreigner. You know, there was this Egyptian, Greek devotee living in Britain reaching out to the Norse gods, and I just felt like it wasn't quite right. But I was opening the dialogue and said, look, if you want to reach out to me, I'm here. If you've got things to teach me, I'm open. I also attended a Wardruna concert, which was amazing. And there's lots of other things that have kind of happened which have opened up myself to finally look into this. And moving to Wessex was one of them. And I've noticed that since then, you know, I've found myself accidentally exposed to Anglo-Saxon archaeology, artifacts, going into museums and finding myself in these incredible galleries looking at Anglo-Saxon heritage. I visited home again and really tuned into that. And I have just found, since being here, that they've just opened up for me. And as I said, I've always been interested. There's always been a link there, but it hasn't been the right time in my life to open that. You know, I had been studying Egyptology for 4 years, so I had to dedicate my mind to that. And then Aphrodite demanded a lot of my attention, being my primary goddess, so there wasn't time there. But now, for some reason, there is. Now there is a space, and it has waved over me. I really feel it's because I have connected into the land that I'm presently living in. So there's been an energetic shift. I remember when I lived back home, I didn't notice the Anglo-Saxon energy so much. And then I moved to Wales and I suddenly felt this real Celtic energy. When I returned to Essex, I then picked up on the energy that of the Anglo-Saxon vibe, if that makes any sense. And so I feel like coming here, moving to a new place, I'm tuning into a new energy. So, you know, to summarise that then, something has happened where there has been a shift in my spirituality. It's always been there, and the gods that I worshipped and my practice is the same as ever, but the attention given to the Anglo-Saxon deities and stories and everything like that has been amped up. Because of a lack of Anglo-Saxon materials to work for Anglo-Saxon heathenry, there is a lot of looking into the Norse path as well, the various different veins of northern heathenry. So, you know, I am kind of exploring all of these things, and it's terribly exciting for me now, actually. It feels like I've discovered something really new for myself, and I'm going with it. I don't know much, or I haven't connected personally much with the goddesses, but the gods are really coming through, which is the opposite with the Greek pantheon. With the Greek pantheon, I was really only drawn to the goddesses, but with Anglo-Saxon heathenry, the gods are really intriguing to me. So I'm going to see where that goes. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight that for you. I felt ready for another video in that sense, just to give you an update, because I have been posting an awful lot of heathen material, and that is kind of what I'm primarily focusing on. In my heart, I still offer reverence to the Egyptian gods, but that's on a pause at the moment until I start my PhD, and they'll rope me back in, I'm sure. And Aphrodite will always be primary, especially when I'm in a relationship, but she's always going to be one that I give offerings of thanks to. But yeah, so I wanted to highlight that for you. I don't know, it's new for me, so I don't really feel like there's going to be much teaching of that on my channel until I learn properly myself, but there may be some sharing of that path with you, so we will see. I just know a few of you were asking, am I now a heathen? I feel like I always have been, and using terms, I don't know, is a little bit limiting at times. And yeah, so I don't really want to label myself too much, but you know, casually throwing it out there that yes, I'm a heathen and I always have been. So yeah, thank you for listening anyway, and sticking with me on my channel even when it has gone quiet. There's been an awful lot of life changes, perceived mistakes, life lessons, interesting things unfolding in my personal life, and now I see that my spiritual life has had some interesting turns too, and the spiritual side is what I wish to share with you. So thank you for your patience, thank you for listening to me, and happy solstice, everybody.